The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Have you heard about the new dance craze? Listen to us, I'm sure you'll be amazed. Big fun to be had by everyone. It's up to you, surely can be done. Young and old are doing it, I'm told. Just one try, and you too will be sold. It's called a freak, we're doing it night and day. Allow us, we'll show you a way. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Go, Rose. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. I can't hear, wanna hear you. Oh, freak out. Woo. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. All that pressure got you down. Has your head spinning all around. Feel the rhythm, get the ride. Get my good time. Come on along and have a real good time. Like the days of stomping after the boy. Now we're free. Oh, what a joy. Just come on down to 54. Find the spot out on the floor. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Come on, sing, y'all. Come on. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Hey. Slash. Now freak. The days of stomping as a boy. Now we're free. Oh, what a joy. Just come on down to 54. Right spot out on the floor. Oh, freak out. Woo. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out. Oh, freak out. The freak says she. Freak out.
Here we go.
Oh, freak out.
Thank you, Slash. Give it up for Slash.
Hey everybody, welcome to Goots' Disney Pod, and it's episode 3 of season 3. And for the first time ever, I have a 3-time guest. Welcome back, Mike Guild for 102 Dalmatians. Mike, how are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. Since usually, I get to know you, but I feel like we know you so well now. What have you done the past week?
Not much, man. Just been working and dealing with the weather down in Florida. But I know y'all at home can't see this, but Ray can see this beautiful AEW World Champion belt that
He bought the kids replica.
I did buy it, but I also technically won it because I had to fight a whole crowd of children for them. And
were there kids there trying to get to it?
No, just big battle royal, dumping kids over the aisles and
well, those kids, they got to learn some way or sometime that they can't get what they want. But we can.
Sometimes the heels win, that's just what happens in life.
It's just what happens. I did my first club show since the pandemic at I was going to say Broadway comic strip at the comic strip.
How'd that go?
It went okay. It was weird. It was weird being back in a comedy club after all this time. It wasn't like, oh, it's good to be back. It was like, I don't know if we're doing the right thing. That's how I kind of felt,
Is everyone in a mask? Like even
not in the audience, because they have that thing, and then it's so funny because like the last place I performed at was Governor's before the pandemic. The last club, that was my last show before everything shut down, and he actually walked in the club, and I was, oh hey, how's it going? And I think because I had the mask on and I'm wearing sweatpants, and, and he's like, hey, and he just kept walking. I was just like, oh. So it was like, I had a nice talk with him. And, it's just, how it is. How this whole fucking, I really thought, like I said, I thought people were going to change. I thought the world ending was going to change people, but no. People just are like, I got to keep being the way I'm being.
I mean, you can't expect too much out of people these days.
No, especially with someone's telling me like they just did a bunch of shows this weekend and people were like after the show were telling them they stink and there was fights breaking out, and I'm like, COVID, there's a side effect of COVID, of mental illness. People are becoming mentally ill because of COVID, and I can see that because I think that's happening to more people than we know.
I think people are already mentally ill. I think COVID is just it's coming out more.
Yes,
it's coming out quicker maybe.
Yes, well, yes, a lot of people are mentally ill, but Mike Guild, I'm glad we got to catch up. It was also I went to Yestercade, which have you ever been there?
No, but I saw the pictures you put up. It looks really cool, man.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, there's 3 locations in New Jersey, and they have all sorts of arcade machines from the 80s, 90s, even the 2000s. They have pool tables, air hockey tables, every video game system. I'm talking like from Atari 2600 to the PS5 with games, and you can play them on TVs. All of this for $9 an hour.
Do they have any pinball?
Yes, ton of pinball.
Oh, that's great. That's what I go for. I go for the pinball.
Yeah, but, it's great because
nerds will be out there for that. I know that.
Well, the pinball machines are usually like $1 everywhere else, so it's just so fucking awesome. Because if you think about it, you play like 10 pinball machines. I brought $20. I'm going to spend $20. And I spent $18. It was only there 2 hours, but like I played so much pinball, and even if you suck at the game, you don't feel bad because you didn't spend any money.
Yeah.
Sometimes you put $1 in a pinball machine, you're so bad at it, you're like, well, I better take a
break. I should just quit now.
Yeah, because I just blew. Weren't some of the Creek in the Cave like almost $2? Like that Iron Maiden one was ridiculous.
Yeah, they were fun. That was just drinking and playing pinball and yelling and
yeah. You remember the Iron Maiden one had a screen? Some of them had like video screens, or was that Lord of the Rings? Do you remember those machines at all?
Oh yeah, a lot of them. They got like TV screens now behind them where they play like, if it's a Wizard of Oz machine, it'll play like a scene from Wizard of Oz.
Yes. The Munsters one was like that there. But also like they're really I really think pinball machines are works of art. I don't know if you agree. Just all the stuff that goes into the machine.
They're very intricate. They're a lot more intricate than people realize. But
yeah, and I was listening to someone like, what's the hardest thing about collecting pinball tables? And it's fixing it, because it's just such an obscure art form to fix, like, let's say, I don't know, you have the Addams Family and the Uncle Fester breaks. I don't know if there's Uncle Fester, but go along with it. You have to find someone that can fix that part, and it's just such an obscure. They got to come to your house. You can't mail in the pinball table, you know.
Yeah, it's and if anyone out there, if you're looking for a career, if you learn how to fix pinball machines, then that's good money because there's usually not a lot of them.
I don't know. So you can be like, who else are you gonna find? I don't know who to call. If I had a pinball machine started breaking, I wouldn't know who to fucking call. I just call you. You know how to fix it. But listen, thinking of things that are broken. We just finished watching 102 Dalmatians. I have to say, I think I'm 80 something episodes in this podcast. This is for the first legitimate piece of irredeemable shit I've covered on this podcast. What do you think, Mike Gill?
It's definitely got more downs than ups. So I'll tell you that. It's weird. Like, it's like they tried to fix what people didn't like about the first movie, but then they went in like the completely opposite direction. And and I don't know how they got Glenn Close to be in this movie. They must have given her a completely different script. Like,
I think they had her in an option for a sequel, and they exercised that option. And for her to get out would have been too costly, so she had to just do it. There's no way that she saw this script and was like, sign me up. Because when the movie started, I'm like, this is bad, but she's gonna make it better, and she didn't. She didn't. It was like this was the ultimate test of her skills, and she failed. But I don't really consider it a failure because they really went out of their way to give her nothing to work with.
Yeah, they make some very awful decisions throughout this entire movie. And a lot of like really talented people are in the movie. Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of really good actors and actresses. There's a lot of really good, like, there's like some parts where it's you're like, you forget that you're watching a bad movie. That's how good it can be. And then all of a sudden they make a really poor decision again, plot wise or dialogue wise. And you're like, well, wait, you're supposed to love animals. That's what you're doing is really unsafe.
So also the other thing I didn't like about this movie is that the message, which I think is such a horrible message for kids, because this was the audience was for kids. It wasn't for guys like us, is that people can't change. That was the message.
Yeah. Well, here it definitely swung back and forth between like basically the plot is that Cruella de Vil gets out of jail, and you know, at the beginning they do a really good job at like, is she actually changed or is she, you know,
pretending?
Yeah, is she just doing this as a ruse to like, and you want, like, I don't know, at the beginning I'm rooting for her. Like, I'm legit rooting for Cruella de Vil to like, you know, she seems really earnest and that she wants to like use her fortune and her power to do a lot of good in the world. And, you know, she's on the cover of magazines and she's, you know, like she's actually doing, she finds a local animal shelter and she basically adopts the entire shelter and gives them a bunch of money and a makeover and gives the dogs makeovers and
yeah. But the whole time her parole officer doesn't believe that she's different. She is a horrible human being who does not. But I don't know why someone's a parole officer, because she doesn't believe in any of her charges and becoming better people.
Well, she's the perfect parole officer.
Yeah.
I've never had a parole officer, but I know people have, and they've said that they're very cold, very like they can be very cold and like awful people.
Yeah,
that's supposed to like trying to help rehabilitate into society.
Yeah, I felt like, you know, this is supposed to be the heroine, and she's already a very unsympathetic person the moment you meet her. Like, it doesn't matter that she has dogs; she just doesn't believe it anymore. And like, she's kind of proven right by the end of the movie, which is like,
I was like, is Disney rooting for recidivism? Like, what is their goal here? I don't really understand what they're in for. But I got to say that there's the song that they open the movie with, and it's the same song that plays over the credits. It is hands down the worst song ever made by human beings.
Okay, so those of you who don't know, they somehow remixed and did a cover version of Snoop Dogg, but like they kidified it, and it's now called Bow Wow Wow or something. The title of the song. It's
It is
horrible.
the most painful. Listen to it. Just read the lyrics. I don't know if you can pull them up, the lyrics to just like, but if you if you watch this movie, put the captions on and just read the lyrics as they come on for this song. And it's like, I get that it's for kids, but if I was a kid, I would still be pissed off that like this is supposed to be acceptable. Like
Digga
this
digga
fucking
dog. Let's see if I
English.
can get the lyrics. Here we go. Digga digga dog. Digga digga dog. Digga digga dog. Digga digga dog. Digga digga dog you. Okay. Ain't that the man in the move dancing over our heads? While all good dogs are asleep in their beds, smiling in the dreams, the crazy things people do. When you think you fool them, who'll make a fool out of you? You dog, you.
It just I mean that I'm speechless by how bad it is. It's
It
very
keeps
like
going. This is a long
oh,
song.
it goes on for way too long, and
You
then
think that you're on top of the game, you've got a lot to learn. When life hangs tough, take a dog-legged turn. I guarantee like 5 guys wrote this song. People they think they're so cool if they throw you a bone. Wait till they discover you've got some tricks on your own. You dog, you. Dig a dog, dig a dog. Don't be believing, looks are deceiving. Oh, it keeps going. Spotted dog, spotted dog. Where have you been?
oh, you can't read it all. This is just torture.
I've been to London to look at the Queen. Can you tell a spotted story? Yes, I can. I saw a dog was walking a man. You dog, you. Oh man, yeah. And then at the background, they're saying Snoop Doggy Doggy Dog, but I'm like, well, why did they keep that in to like fool us and think that Snoop Dogg like wrote this or something?
Oh, I yeah. I
He had to
guarantee
sign
it.
off on that, right? He had to give them the permission to rewrite the song, right?
No, the label probably could have given them permission to just use that sample.
It's fucking
I imagine, but
dude, and they let the whole song play over the. They don't break away from the like. Usually they'll do like a short version of the song for the opening credits. No, they play the whole song over the
yeah,
opening credits.
and they play the entire song, and it's like 3.5 minutes long, and
Yeah.
like, I just got angry, right? Like, why piss off your audience right at the top, right? At the
Well,
beginning?
it was a very clear sign that I'm gonna see a complete piece of shit just based on an opening song and the way the CGI dog looked. It was like, wow, you're just letting me know right from the start that nothing redeemable is gonna happen in this movie.
I used to ask myself because back in the 80s and 70s and stuff, every good movie had its own theme song.
Mhm.
Like it usually was at the beginning and it was like sort of about whatever maybe it even had the name of the movie and like the graphic would come up with the title right when it said it in the song. Like that happened all the time. So I was wondering why they stopped doing that. It's like because of shit like this. It was already on its way out, and then people tried to like keep it relevant.
Yeah, well, but the thing about it is that doesn't even have anything to do with the plot. It's just a bunch of like nonsense. The lyrics.
It's
And it's
completely
just they're just going bow wow wow and stuff like Snoop Dogg. They should have just played the Snoop Dogg song and bleeped out the curses. Way better credit. You know, I don't understand. So back to the plot. Cruella is helping out all the animals. He's at the animal shelter. The guy at the animal shelter who played Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, falls in love with the parole officer. They start dating. Now, here was the thing I
Oh
thought.
yeah, the parole officer like follows her one day to the animal shelter and is like, "I'm gonna keep an eye on you because I think you're gonna change any second." And the guy who runs the shelter is like, "Hey, you want to come hang out? That's fine by me, man. Like you're good looking.
Yeah.
All I do is hang out with this meth head all day." That's how they meet. Is like one of her other clients is like you can tell is just a complete junkie.
Yeah.
And then he also works for him and he gets paid in IOUs apparently.
Yes. So
there's the parrot. You got to mention
there's a parrot that thinks he's a dog. And
it's voiced by Eric Idle. For God's sakes, you got a Monty Python and you gave him such like on paper, that is such a great character. A parrot that thinks it's a dog and like talks like a human. Like that's and they fucked it all up. What a shitty all nothing but bird. Like he has bird puns the whole time, and you're like, I thought you were a dog. Why are you talking about birds so much?
Yeah, and he really doesn't shut up. And I think that they like wanted an animal that could talk to the humans, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just have the parrot talk." But he really is kind of annoying. He's not.
He doesn't just repeat things. He's completely sentient.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how like human beings feel and emotions work, and he's basically an Eric Idle trapped in a bird.
I don't understand why they didn't just market this bird and make money. Like have the bird do a podcast and be like, no, this is a bird. Like have the bird do the Joe Rogan podcast and just start, giving his opinions on George Floyd. And I think it would have been huge. Even if the bird was a racist, how could you not want to interview this bird who thinks he's a dog and can ask
Eric Idle just
thought.
like he keeps being like, it's just a character. I'm not the writer. I'm the performer. Don't blame me.
By the way, I didn't realize it was Eric Idle. I thought it was a guy because he sounded so bored reading those lines.
Yeah, that's the other thing is you could tell he wasn't down for the script either, but maybe he needed a paycheck.
So we get to a scene where they go on a date. The dog guy and the parole officer. And this was the problem I had. This guy brings his dogs everywhere. He doesn't have them on a leash. He just has his dogs everywhere. And they go on the date and they leave all these dogs alone in the home with no wee-wee pads, no anything. They just go in and first of all, all right, you don't know this girl. Now you're coming to this girl's place with 5 or 6 dogs. And then you're like, we're just going to leave the dogs in your place. First of all, who the fuck want to date a lunatic like that? I'm talking about the parole officer with the guy.
And she already has
5 dogs.
A bunch of Dalmatians and Dalmatian puppies.
And they watched Lady and the Tramp, and then they I think they thought this was funny. They kept cutting from the dogs eating spaghetti to the humans eating spaghetti. And instead, all it does is make me I wish I was watching the original Lady and the Tramp. This is such a fucking piece of shit, this movie.
I wanted to bring up that I thought Glenn Close does a really good job at walking the line at the beginning of the film, at least the first half of is she I want to keep watching her because I don't know what she's going for. There is there's another awful fake video game at one point of 2 people boxing, and it's just again it just looks like a cartoon. It doesn't look like a video game at all.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, you think that was the guy from the first movie? You think he developed it?
Yeah, I was. They should have had some little little Easter egg that was Jeff Daniels' face on the back of the box or something stupid that would have been good. She also, when she's the nice Cruella at the beginning of the movie, she makes everybody call her Ella because she doesn't want. So I'm wondering if in the prequel with Emma Stone, if she's gonna if at the beginning she's gonna be called Ella by everybody, and then at the end be like, call me Cruella. That
could be interesting callback. Although, why would you want to associate that movie with this one? But that could be an interesting callback. I mean, if they're all 3 of them are in continuity.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, she probably did talk to Glenn Close.
Well, but but the other thing too is they probably will, because who is just going to go right off the bat be Cruella? If you met a girl, if your friend was like, I really need you to meet this girl, and you met the girl, and what's your name, Cruella? And then later on, starts acting crazy. Oh, I can't believe, dude, Cruella is a real cunt. Really? What did it tip you off?
Hey, my name's Mike. Nice to meet you. What's your name? My name's Nasty Stacy. All right. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'd probably. I mean, honestly, my stupid liberal brain, my first instinct would be like, what is that? Romanian? I would just try to write it off like it's some other language, oh, it means a daffodil in fucking Botswanan or something.
Oh, Cruella must be an ironic nickname. I bet you she helps out animal shelters. It can't be.
Yeah.
Cruella.
I also wanted to. So she goes insane at one point. She's totally fine. She's around a bunch of Dalmatians at the beginning of the movie and having fun and getting licked, and all the animals love her. And then she goes to her parole officer's office one day, which is right outside of Big Ben Tower, whatever that's called in London. And the clock starts going off, and for some reason, this is the first time she's hearing a bell, because she starts calling out for her doctor, which is Dr. Pavlov. What a dumb. I like stupid things like that, but I hated that they did that.
Oh my God.
I even wrote down Big Ben makes her go crazy again because she was treated by Dr. Pavlov, and then in parentheses I just wrote lame.
Oh, Do you know 4 people wrote this movie? John Hughes wrote the first one. 4 guys wrote this movie, including a writer named Brian Regan. And I thought it was the comedian Brian Regan. I was so disappointed.
You gave me a heart attack, man.
And I looked it up. There's a screenwriter who's gone nowhere, also named Brian Regan.
Oh, thank God.
Because I was like, there's no way. I go, I can't believe I could just picture Brian Regan walk. Okay, what if we name the doctor? My work here is done. I gotta go headline.
What if Cruella got baked into a cake?
Yeah.
She's just like she's like, she could still walk, her hands are still coming out of the side of the cake, but she's just like a big cake, that seems like a Brian Regan bit.
Dude, so much of this movie, when you say it out loud, like I would be like, if me and you were hired to write this movie, and don't give us a summary, and you're saying this, I would just be like, you know what, I apologize for my writing partner, I think he might be delusional, but no, they got this made. You have to have balls of steel to half the shit that they wrote to pitch to Disney.
I think that okay, if let's reboot it real quick.
All right.
Just real quick, we'll reboot it. So we'll keep that there's a man and a woman, or hey, it's 2021. How about it is a Indian man and a black woman, and they meet and they're already in polyamorous relationships.
Well, I got it. Gerard Depardieu steals the puppies, and the couple doesn't know what to do. So they go to Cruella de Vil in prison, and she has to almost pull a Hannibal Lecter. And it turns out Gerard Depardieu is her ex-husband, so she has an axe to grind with him. So now she's guiding this couple on how to.
Oh, you're rebooting the sequel. Okay, you're rebooting the sequel. I was rebooting the original on accident.
Oh no, I'm rebooting 102 Dalmatians. So they get more.
Okay, all right, yeah. So Gerard, they hire her. Why do they need Cruella de Vil again?
To figure out how he thinks. He's a criminal mastermind, and this Indian and black couple, they're just dog farmers. They don't know how a criminal thinks. So darling, you need Cruella de Vil. And so they go to Cruella de Vil, like she's in prison. She's in the those glass prison cells they have that like in Silence of the Lambs. She's in that. And they talk to her. She tells them where to go, and they go, and they're trapped, and maybe Gerard Depardieu steals the wife. So the husband goes in and breaks Cruella out of prison. And then Cruella goes to the dogs. I know you dogs don't like me, but I've got to work together to save your owner. And then at the end of the movie, her and the Dalmatians defeat Gerard Depardieu. And she doesn't like any of the dogs, but she meets like one mangy, like ugly dog, and she thinks it's beautiful. And she falls in love with this one ugly dog, and she, is free, and because she saved all the puppies. And she retires to her castle, and she's just happy with her little ugly, miserable dog. And the dog attacks everyone. Like there's a dog in the whole movie that just attacks, like a little dog, a little chihuahua, just hates everyone, and that's
Fluffy.
Cruella's dog.
We can keep Fluffy from this one.
Yes, you keep Fluffy. So Fluffy, but Fluffy's even worse. Fluffy just poops everywhere and pees, and it's like just the worst dog in the planet. And Cruella
is her dog in this movie.
Yeah, she gets a dog, Fluffy, and they act like, I would actually take Fluffy as my dog.
Fluffy knew from the beginning that she was a piece of shit because she got Fluffy when she was still good.
Yeah, and Fluffy
right away. Fluffy was like, "Nah, I don't." Disney told me not to trust you because you were in prison.
So do you like my reboot of 102 Dalmatians?
Oh yeah. Well, do you call it 102 Dalmatians?
Yes, because you can have Gerard Depardieu be like, "Oh, we did 102 Dalmatians." Same thing. Didn't he say that in this movie too?
You should do 102.
Oh,
Dalmatians.
I mean, this could be the plot of 103 Dalmatians. Well, Glenn Close break her out of prison, and like she's.
Yeah, spoiler alert. She goes back to prison because that's always what happens. When you go to prison once, you'll always go back.
Yes, there's
every time. You should never be trusted. According to this isn't my views. This is the Walter Disney Corporation.
Yeah, you're just not to be trusted. So
I'm not gonna lie though. If who I would have cast instead of Gerard Depardieu as that role, because that role actually
Oh,
would have
so
been
just so you know,
fun.
we got to inform the viewers that didn't see the movie. She teams up with the evil fur to create the
He's like
code.
he's like a fashion designer of
Yeah.
furs.
She teams up with him to kidnap the Dalmatians.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like, he's supposed to be like a really rich guy,
Like
and
he just buy the dogs.
he does like a break and enter. He does like a B&E, like to steal these puppies, and he's really bad at it. Like I was
Because
like,
he's
you can't
rich.
hire anybody to fucking do this for you. There was no like Hugh Laurie's around that you could just pay to do this.
Hugh Laurie was like, I'm getting my medical degree. I can't be bothered.
Yeah, I'm in med school now. But yeah, I would have recast Gerard Depardieu with either Mel Brooks or Harvey Keitel.
That would have been good. I thought about
Both of those guys would have nailed that role, I feel like.
Well, I feel like for a while, Disney was really fucking with Gerard Depardieu. I think they thought he was going to bring in the foreign audience because he's big in France. I know that. He's like basically Tom Cruise over there. But nobody gave a shit. Like, it's just, I mean, at least over here. Like, whenever I hear Gerard Depardieu, don't get me wrong, Gerard Depardieu wanted a role in like a script I was making. I'd be like, sure. But like, I know that's not going to get people in the theater. I'm not going to be like, I'm making my own movie. Gerard Depardieu is the lead. He's playing Louis Ferranda. I mean, like, who cares?
So he steals the pups because she wants to make, she's still obsessed with this coat of and what, like at the same time she sets up the guy who owns the, what do you call it?
The dog shelter that he kidnapped the dogs, and everyone like an idiot believes.
Well, no. She doesn't make it seem like. Well, it makes it seem like he kidnapped the dogs, but also tried to frame Cruella de Vil for kidnapping the dogs.
Oh yes, that part I forgot. I'm sorry.
Because there was a stipulation on her release by the judge that if she got caught, fucking around, then all of her money was going towards that animal shelter.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
And so they basically they gave that gave the guy motive to do it, and so he goes to jail, right? But we're still supposed to believe that Reed Richards is a fucking good guy because he's in jail, and they put him in jail with all of his animals, by the way.
Is that animal abuse by the state?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And of course you get your classic one criminal in one cell and one guard who falls asleep because police need to be defunded, and they were fucking paying these people way too much money to sleep on the job. Yeah. But here's the thing is Disney's like, people who go to jail are bad people and shouldn't ever be trusted, right? But this guy's the hero of the story, and he escapes prison using his animals. And so basically Disney's like, if you can escape prison, that means you're innocent. That means God knows you're innocent. So you can trust people who escape prison.
What do you think the logic was? Like, I'm just thinking about if I was a reporter and I asked them, why did you put this man in prison with his parrot and his 4 dogs? What would be the logic? Well, the parrot's in front. Yeah. Like, because the parrot's in the prison. The parrot's the one who gets them out. Yeah,
he slips right through the bars, steals the keys off the sleeping guard, brings it back, and it's it just made me want to watch Life of Brian or something to cleanse my palate. Like I needed like a really good Monty Python experience.
So they get out, but Cruella and the Gerard Depardieu, they're already in Paris. The final battle takes place in Paris this time.
Oh, when they get stolen, it does the same montage of like dogs like alerting each other that this is happening. And at one point it shows the queen like passed out drunk on a couch, and her crown is like, legs splayed open, crown on the ground, like just bourbon in hand. And her corgis like, join in on the like, oh, we gotta alert all the other dogs.
Were they shitting on the queen in that scene? I don't know.
She's rubbing it into her stockings.
She's celebrating the murder of Princess Di. This was a very, the more you talk about this is a very strange movie to describe. It really is.
It's not good, and you can tell they shot it all in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff where you're like, really? That was the best take you got that day of that? Yeah, and then the whole time the lady that you're supposed to the parole officer who you're supposed to be rooting for because she's in love with the guy with Reed Richards,
Reed Richards.
Mr. Fantastic. Uh but I just like the way she treats her dogs, like she bitches at the guy for not for the dogs like not being on a leash or whatever, but then like she has all of her adult dogs on a leash and then all of her puppies are just wandering. Puppies, by the way, that end up on ledges of buildings and like, just almost get run over and shit. Like just stuff's always happening to the puppies and she's like barely paying attention to them. Uh but Cruella Deville tries to murder her by locking her in like a weird fur dungeon.
Mhm.
And she says something to her too about like, I'll see you, I'll come visit your bones or something weird, like where you're like, she fully is intending on murdering this person right now.
Her parole. Yeah. Yeah, she didn't try to murder anyone the first one.
I think she implies killing Jeff Daniels at some point.
Okay, but she doesn't. I don't think she would do it. But yeah, but this movie, she's just ready to. But the parole officer was kind of an asshole to her. So
Yeah, I'm curious. I would like to actually see like it would be cool if this Emma Stone Cruella Deville movie was like rated R and they just went like they just got real weird with it. Like that would be pretty dope. Just I think you're right. I think it's just gonna be the Joker, but for that character. Which on paper sounds all right,
yeah.
So we're gonna have to see how that turns out.
But the big thing, and this is where I felt really bad for Glenn Close, and you can see her career take a turn. Big finale, where they turn her into a giant cake.
Yeah, I didn't just make that up, guys. They really turn her. That's the big finale. Turn her into a giant cake.
I felt so bad for her because you can see on her face that there is nothing. There is no way she can make this work. She literally is standing there being humiliated for 10 to 15 minutes on screen. This is an actress. This is one of the greatest actresses of our time.
She's Shakespearean trained.
Yeah, and she was brought into, and it worked because, like I said last week, the first movie was a huge hit, and everybody loved it. It was based, and I think a lot of people took it more seriously based off her cachet. If she's saying yes to this is going to be a great movie, and it's almost like they were mad at her because they went out of their way to humiliate her in this fucking movie. It was just like I felt so bad. The amount of shit. She gets like dough poured on. She gets like.
Well, first she gets covered in real. It looks real enough.
Yeah.
There's a big vat of eggs that they dump on her, and it looks. I mean, even if it's not real, whatever it is that's getting poured on her looks disgusting.
Yeah, eggs, and then like cake batter, and then she gets thrown in an oven. Like she and I mean, to the movie's credits, the Dalmatians do get revenge on her finally, which I thought was missing from the first movie. But it's just such a long. It's not funny. It's not interesting. It's just then she gets smashed into a window. It's just very humiliating for her. And I was
it's a little like sadomasochist. Like
like did she like piss off like a producer of this fucking movie? Like why? Like I think it would have been the same if she like fell like she fell in like I just would have had what I would have had her do? You want to get her have her falling in a pit of dog poop or something like and like she gets falls out and she's in dog poop and the cops arrest her. It's like a 5-second thing. It's very humiliating, very much cool comeuppance for going after dogs, and that's it. Not this dragged out 15-minute fucking sequence where she literally or something she's just standing there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you catch her, and I feel like she already got caught and got out. Like I feel like that you have to up the ante with Cruella Deville. And
I know, but it's just
it's weird to have because she like I could see that character fit in with like as like a supervillain, like a Lex Luthor type character. It's a good character, but her whole like she just wants dogs and just wants these specific kinds of dogs to skin alive and make a coat out of.
That's the thing. You could have probably made this movie just doing about Cruella DeVille and going after something else, whether she's helping people, like, or like, it's like she's the anti-hero, or she's the villain. It didn't have to be constantly about dogs. The character and the way she plays the character is so interesting. And they just keep going back to this goofy dog thing, and I think now Disney understands that it wasn't the dogs that were getting people to see these movies. It's Cruella de Vil, at least the live action ones. And that's why I think Cruella is going to really do the character justice.
Yeah, it's I'm interested. We're gonna have to talk about that when it comes out, and
when we get to it.
we'll get around to it.
So all in all, I don't recommend any parent showing this. It's on Disney Plus, but I don't recommend watching it or showing it to your kids unless your kid is in love with Glenn Close, thinks Glenn Close is the coolest fucking actress in the world. This will dissuade them otherwise. But
what kind of a kid is like? Who I really like? Glenn Close.
Well, they see the first 101 Dalmatians and they're like, "This is just an amazing movie." I mean,
I don't even know if I would show this to my niece and nephews. Like,
I might show the first one, not this one though.
Yeah, it's
not that I'm talking about the first live action.
I don't really like the message behind it.
No.
It's very confusing. It's not that I'm for a specific side, but it's more like a they at least pick a lane, Disney.
It's kind of a defeatist message.
Yeah.
I don't like movies, and I don't like kid movies where they tell you a piece of shit is a piece of shit. Because I feel like I had teachers that would tell kids, would say to kids, "You're going to go nowhere." And my mom would say, "That's always a bad thing to say." And I remember a priest gave a sermon at my church. This is the only sermon I remember, where he said, "I had a friend and my one of my classes when I was a kid, and the teachers would constantly tell the kid he was going to be a bum. He's going to be a bum." And he said, "The other day I was driving. I went back to my hometown. I'm driving around, and he's there as a bum. The kid's a bum now. You know what I mean?" And so when kids get told, once you're a piece of shit, you can't change, I kind of feel like they double down on pieces of shit, and that's where we get Trump. I don't think that's a good message to give the kids in kids movies. I think it's a really terrible message.
Yeah. Disney dropped the ball on that one for sure.
They did. They dropped the ball a lot. I blame you for most of it.
I was executive producer on this project, so.
I looked on YouTube because there are some videos about this movie, and people do have nostalgia for this. And I just want to say, if you have nostalgia for this movie, if this movie is part of your childhood, you had an awful fucking childhood. Your childhood was fucking pits. All right, this movie sucks.
Yeah, this is like the type of movie where you have a sleepover and you put on the first one and everyone's real down with it, and then you're like, "Now let's watch the second one," and everyone's like, "All right, cool," and then they get 20 minutes in,
they fall asleep,
and Cruella de Vil's not really keeping their attention anymore. So then you start you end up going doing something else.
No, this is the time. I feel like this is the movie where people just fall asleep. They're really into the first one. Let's see where the second one goes. And at first they're with it, and then they just all fall asleep. And next thing you know, you wake up and she's covered in fucking cake shit. You're like,
yeah,
what?
You don't care about these characters at all.
No.
So let's can't hold your attention.
Let's talk about one more thing before we go. The two leads fell in love making this, and they got married.
Much later after making this movie, the Reed Richards and the parole officer Alice Evans, they fell in love. They got married. They had children, and
they recently filed for divorce.
And yeah, Alice Evans was one of the early she wrote an op-ed and was one of the early people to call out Harvey Weinstein by name and add to the list of people that were coming out against him, and so those two people on, I believe it was Wikipedia or something, mentioned that there's a chance that both of their careers were kind of fucked over by Harvey Weinstein, and basically because she turned him down and then married
Reed Richards.
Mr. Fantastic.
Well, he was supposed to marry Sue Storm, and that didn't work out. I have to say, he looks like Reed Richards so fucking much. It's insane.
That's why he got cast as Reed Richards.
I know, but people I would just bring him back. Reed Richards is supposed to be older anyway, and this guy's got to be he's got to be at least 50. I have him.
No, everybody wants John Krasinski. That's
this fucking guy's got to be brought back. This guy is 47, dude. 47. He can do 10. He can do 10 years of these. Fucking bring him.
How old's John Krasinski? John Krasinski's got to be right around that age.
Yeah, bring him back, man. Dude, he was so good. It's not his fault. He's not good in this. but it's not his fault that he didn't want to blow Harvey Weinstein. Bring him back and let him play fucking Reed Richards. He's so fucking good. He really is.
How is it that last week the way you talked about Batman versus Superman and how it was worse than pedophilia?
It is.
And you're gonna sit here and defend the fucking Fox?
I'm not defending the movie.
Movies?
I'm saying that he was very good as Reed Richards. He didn't have anything.
No, he wasn't. He looks like him, but he's not Reed Richards. Reed Richards can act.
Let me write him some Reed Richards lines, and he'll nail it. This is his last chance. And then if he doesn't, I'll be like, Harvey Weinstein was right. Listen, you can't be wrong about everything.
He was right to flush your career down the toilet.
Yeah, you stink. Get out of here. I mean, both of them weren't that good. I get, like, you turned down Harvey Weinstein, but, like, I just want to say there, listen, I hate to be condescending, but listen, honey, you fucking stunk in this movie. Like, you had no charisma.
Well, this movie is not a very good movie to judge people on.
What else did you
I'm sure that they've both done some good work in their past, so I'm not going to say that whether they're good or bad actors in general, but
right, you know. What is this chick done? Gosh, she's done nothing. I mean, she's really done nothing.
I tried to look through her stuff. She has a lot of like bit parts and cameos, and pops up in TV shows and stuff.
Oh, she was on The Vampire Diaries and the originals. Okay. And she was on Highlander. But like movies, she did nothing. So like The Abduction Club, Black Ball, Fascination. Dude, I never even heard of these movies. So at least he did Fantastic Four. You got to give him credit. You know? He was on Titanic.
With Captain America. He made a superhero movie with Captain America.
Yeah.
But not a good one.
What is he? He was in W as Tony Blair. He was pretty good at that. What else has this guy done? Oh, he hasn't done any Ava. Okay, he was in the movie Ava that came out last year.
Was this movie released in theaters, by the way, or was this?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be covered. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not doing any.
I'm going to later on, but I'm just covering theatrical movies right now. So like, because there is 101 Dalmatians Part 2 that came out direct to DVD. We'll cover that later on. There's a whole.
So how much money, comparatively?
Oh, let's look that up.
They make.
We're doing this. It made. Hold on, I have the link right here. It made an apology. There was an apology letter. That's all it made. They're like, we're really sorry we did this. It was third. It opened at third. It made 67 million in the U.S. and 160. It grossed 183 million. Made less than the first movie, but its budget was 85 million. It made $100 million profit. So it's still doing pretty good.
Close got at least half that. She probably got like 40 million to do this movie.
Yeah, she had to. Yeah, so I mean, it did pretty good. So I don't know. I mean, it was a piece of shit, but it made $100 million. So who's laughing now?
I mean, Disney. That's the thing. Disney movies come out all over the world. They have enough money to put it in literally every movie theater all over the world in any language. So they make their money back.
Yeah, and I think people. I kind of had a bad feeling about this movie, but I'm like, well, it's Glenn Close, so how bad can it be? And I think the goodwill of her brought a lot of people in the theaters. And I'm positive they didn't do a third one because they're like, we just killed everyone's goodwill into this series. So let's reboot it.
I don't think they did any more live action 101 Dalmatians.
No, not until Cruella.
Okay. So they did there's so many fucking 101 Dalmatians TV shows and cartoon movies.
Yes. And we will cover those one day. But today, this season of the live action remakes, and we're done with the Cruella. Did you learn anything about yourself watching all these live action Cruella films?
A little bit. I think sometimes I see the way you post about some of these superhero movies, and it makes me laugh because I don't think you're serious about a lot of it. Yeah. But it's funny how people on the internet can get so mad at a movie where you're like, dude, this movie is for 12-year-olds. Like, why are you so upset about this children's movie?
Yeah.
It's not ever gonna be perfect. Mm-hmm. And then so I always, when I watch these movies, I try to watch them with a grain of salt and not be too harsh on them because they're not for me. Mm-hmm. But this movie just right from the get-go, the fucking song pissed me off. And then just, the way I was really looking forward to finding out whether she was actually good or bad. And it turns out she was a good person until she was around a bell, which this dumbass doctor said she was ready to go. And,
Yeah.
and there was no scene where he was like, oh, you know what? I should have told her not to go around any bells. Man,
He just doesn't.
you know
He
what?
just lets her be evil and ruin her
Yeah.
life and lose all her money.
And at no point, okay, and that's the thing is at the beginning, like they're like, how did you cure Cruella de Vil? And he's like, oh, I put her on this strict diet of nothing but fresh fruits and vegetables and plenty of like cuddling time and listening to this type of music and this and that. At no point does they mention fucking bells or anything. And then I don't even know if they even say Dr. Pavlov in the beginning. And then like later on, she's just like, Dr. Pavlov, oh, I'm crazy now. She starts imagining everybody and everything in London as spot, like white with black spots, like a Dalmatian.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like a fever dream. It is fucking creepy. They never reveal if like she still sees everything like that when she's crazy. Like, I kind of want that to be true. Like that would, because that would make me insane. If everything
Yes,
I
everything
looked at was
yes.
Dalmatian colored, like I would be insane as well. So it makes sense for her character to like be insane about that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, fuck this movie. Don't let your kids watch it. Definitely, if you're the type of person like me where you like to watch shitty movies and make fun of them, by all means, have at this one.
Well, I'll tell you this. Like, I the reason why I get mad at things like Batman v Superman is because it's not that hard. And I don't get mad at things like I'll watch the original Wonder Woman show and they're just, they did whatever the fuck they wanted, or the original Hulk from the 70s. And again, they didn't have any respect for comics. They didn't realize how much money could be made. And they were like, still, the guy, I read interviews with the guy who did the Hulk, and he really, I'm a real writer. This, my Hulk, this is a serious show. You watching these episodes and it's goofy. But I don't hold it against these people because they didn't know. They just thought, I'm taking a kid's character and I'm making it fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you fucking, now, when Batman Superman came out, it was in 2016. And Marvel had shown that, hey, not only can fucking X-Men and Spider-Man and Iron Man work, but our fucking talking raccoon can work. We just have to show him in the right light. The fucking tree, we have a tree that can talk, and he's taken as seriously as fucking Thor because the character works. And then they just couldn't get Batman and Superman right. They just did, and they're the two easiest characters in the world to write. You can literally take any comic book and just adopt it to screen, and you've got a movie. And it's the easiest plot at any given time. Batman and Superman, they meet, they have an adventure. That's the movie. You're talking in any given period of time.
Well, you got to have them fight when they first meet.
You get them fight, but like you're talking about whether it happened in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, even the fucking 40s, bro. The movie would have had lines around the block. There was no way to fuck up this movie, and they fucked it up, and that's why I hate that fucking movie so much. And like New Mutants got a lot of things wrong, but I enjoyed it. A lot of other people didn't. I'm like, what are you so angry about? Like, it's fine. It's okay. It was enjoyable. But this fucking thing is like, dude, this is the one surefire thing. If you're telling me what is the one surefire thing, and then they got outgrossed by fucking Brie Larson. Are you out of your fucking mind?
I like Brie Larson, and I like
her.
Marvel.
Oh, don't wait until I get to the episode about that jerk off.
I like her. I think she's fun. I like that character a lot.
But that's my thing. That's why I got so mad about Batman v Superman, and then it kind of became a running joke. I got so mad about that fucking movie because like this is the easiest movie in the world. Like you could literally, dude, you could have given like just think, dude, you could have the people who wrote Saved by the Bell. You could have said to them, "You guys are hired to write Batman v Superman. It comes out in 2 years," and they would have nailed it. Like it would have been still weird, but they would have nailed it. They would have been like, "Okay," like it would have been the greatest script, but it does take a lot to nail this movie, and they couldn't fucking do it. This guy, Zack Snyder. And you have everyone on the internet who's like, genius. Restore the Snyder. People wanted more of this shit. I was like, well, are you out of your fucking mind?
There's a famous video I've seen on YouTube of like a guy doing crowd work at a show. Mm-hmm. And then he's talking to Zack Snyder. And I've always wanted that to happen to you, like where you start doing crowd work with a guy and then you realize it's Zack Snyder and then you just go off about fucking, that would be my dream come true.
Oh, dude.
I
If I had
could
a
die
podcast
after that
with Zack
moment.
Snyder, it probably would make me famous, but I would probably wind up hitting him.
The audience would fucking lose it. They,
Yeah.
especially if you're wearing a Marvel shirt while bitching about, like, that is just the most perfect thing in the world.
Like the arrogance to take these two characters who have been around for like 80 fucking years and be like, I'm not gonna do anything that makes them enjoyable. And it's fucking like there's certain things. Like here's the deal: these characters have lasted all this time because there's certain things that make them work. So like Sherlock Holmes, people still like Sherlock Holmes. Why? He solves mysteries, right? If you make a Sherlock Holmes movie and he's like, I don't know what the fucking answer is, and he just goes and smokes crack the rest of the movie. That's not a Sherlock Holmes. You like, no, there's certain things you have to adhere to, which is why people like these characters. You know, why do people like Freddy Krueger? Why do people like Thanos? Why do people like Cruella? There's certain things you have to do that makes the character. They're almost like human beings that we created. And if you don't do them, if Superman's not happy, not trying to save people, then he's not fucking Superman. Go fucking do it. If Batman's killing people and using guns and shit, he's not Batman. He's just some fucking douchebag. Then fucking, I don't know. Anyway, but that's why I got with that movie. Other things, like as long as they try, I'm fine with it. But honestly, today, like, there's no, even if you make a Hawkman movie, there's no, like, I'll give people, if you made a Hawkman movie like 20 years ago, all right, it's tough because he's a weird character. But there's no excuse now. If you can fucking nail Black Panther and you can nail fucking Groot and Captain Marvel and all these other goofy characters, the Wanda and the Vision, you can fucking nail Hawkman. It's not that hard, right? He's a guy who dresses like a hawk. Okay. Not that hard. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. Give me fucking Hawkman.
I'd take a live action Birdman movie.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There's no excuse to fuck this shit up now because it's been proven audiences will take.
You know, they rebooted the Hanna-Barbera characters recently, a couple years ago in the comics.
Johnny but also in Scoob, the movie Scoob, they
yeah, Scooby-Doo and Johnny Quest and Birdman and a bunch of characters. And I always thought that would make such a fun movie.
It would be really cool to, like, if I made a Space Ghost movie, it'd be really cool to be, he's kind of like become the new Conan O'Brien, like he's still, or Jimmy, remember he had the talk show?
Yeah.
And then he gets called in by like the Space Ghost Patrol or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. And he has to go on a serious mission. But now he's like not used to being, and all the people who used to work with him are like, what happened to you? He's like, well, I'm a comic now. He has a podcast. He's done no. Space Ghost now has a podcast.
Yeah.
And they have to pull him back into action. And to see this guy adjust back to being Space Ghost and being like a legit hero when he was just a goof with Brack, that would be a fun movie. That's the type of Space Ghost movie I would make. You know?
I'll watch it. I'm down.
Mike, anything you want to plug before we go?
Not yet, man. Hopefully, maybe by the time we do the Cruella episode, I'll be further along with this book I'm working on.
All right, awesome.
Hammering it out.
Awesome. Well, guys, if this is your first time hearing the podcast, if you're only a fan of 102 Dalmatians, not the other Dalmatian films, or you're a Glenn Close fan or whatever, just so you know, we're in season 3. We're covering all the live action remakes. Next week, Natalie Cuomo returns to talk about the 2010 Alice in Wonderland, directed by Tim Burton. I've never seen that. Have you seen it?
Oh, it's awful.
Oh, God. Here we go. Well, we're covering that next week. But I did season 1, all the original Disney classics, from Snow White to Frozen 2. And then we did Pixar, from Toy Story to fucking Soul. I don't want I'm cursing in the plugs, but whatever. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Ray Goots. Follow the podcast, Goots Disney Pond. Subscribe to us on iTunes. And tune in next week for Alice in Wonderland without Natalie Cuomo. Have you seen her nudie pics?
No.
Well, they're on the internet. Guys, she's naked on the internet. Stag Magazine. Go to their website. They're selling a nude poster of her. You can just download the GIF. The GIF. You'll have it. You can look at it while listening to next week's podcast. All right, guys. Next week, Natalie Cuomo. Thanks, guys.